Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, to episode 4 of Tables, Tailgates, and Top Loaders. I am your host, TB, aka Tim Beardsley, and this is the only place where, of course, cardboard, chaos, and fandom come together in perfect freaking harmony. I can't thank you enough for being here. This is the only place where you can hear talk about the Buffalo Bills, greatest team on the planet, the sports and trading card world, and of course, the spectacle that is professional wrestling. If this is your first time checking out the podcast, thank you so much. Welcome in. Can't wait to have you aboard this program. If you've been here before, awesome. Can't thank you enough for sticking with me. We got a lot of cool things to talk about. So, collectors, you are up first. How are we feeling? Now, the last few weeks, I have gone over some of the sports card stuff. I know Topps Series 2 is out. I've talked about that before. Football's everywhere. It seems like there's one product after another being released. That's all well and good, but there are some big things coming in the non-sports card industry. That is led by none other than the 2025 Marvel Chrome release. This is coming up soon. A ton of people are super excited about it. It's pretty pricey. Pre-orders sold out relatively quickly. I know you can still dive into hobby boxes and such on the secondary markets through Dave & Adams, blowout cards, etc., etc. The last time I looked, these prices were out of control. They were upwards of $450, $475 for a hobby box. So people are going crazy over Topps Marvel Chrome. And they should be, because it looks really cool. 200 card base set. I probably wouldn't be able to come up with 20, 25 characters, but that's okay. I still think these cards are really sweet. I think the artwork looks great. I think this is a really cool product, and congrats to all those who got in on the pre-sale. I'm super excited to see some videos and see some breaks of this stuff in the next week or so. And hopefully you all get some really cool stuff. Another product I'm super excited about. When I got back into the hobby, I had forgotten about some of the really cool off-the-wall sets that were available when I was a kid. And so I rediscovered Garbage Pail Kids. Now, these cards are not for the faint of heart. Of course, if you know what Garbage Pail Kids are, yeah, they're not for everybody. But again, if you are a fan of just crazy artwork, these cards are awesome. I love the play on words. I love how they take different genres and combine them all together. Some of the favorite ones that I've collected, and I'll go buy singles on eBay, but I love how they take Garbage Pail Kids and they mash them together with MLB players. Some of my favorite cards that I have in like the one-touch magnet holders are my Garbage Pail Kids merged with MLB superstars. They're awesome looking, and I'm super excited for a product that is coming out soon. I did miss the pre-order, but it's 2025 Worst of Garbage Pail Kids 40th anniversary. Now, this product has some hype behind it because it sold out super quick. Even on Dave & Adams and Blowout, you can't buy the pre-order there either. So I think they did a good job with production runs to keep some hype on this product. And yeah, super excited. That's one of the things I want to go back and try to piece together is some of the older Garbage Pail Kids sets. Now, if you look historically, some of this stuff is crazy expensive. I mean, it's crazy expensive. Now, within the last few years, the product is relatively cheap and you can get back into it for a pretty reasonable investment. Some of the sites have hobby boxes for as low as like, I don't know, $35, $40, which, hey, whatever. If that's something you like, and like I said, I love the artwork on this. It's funny. It's a good, fun rip to kind of put a collection together. But if you are a fan of good, cheap rips, which, you know, go back to my YouTube channel, that's one thing I really tried to focus on was a cheap rip that you could dive into a product or something that you really like. And this is a great place to start. So Garbage Pail Kids, 40th anniversary. If you also go to the Topps site, which, side note, can we talk about some of these card sites? The Topps website, is anyone else having difficulty navigating this thing? I feel like I can never find what I'm looking for. I feel like they are so reluctant to share information on upcoming releases or whatever the case may be, but it's next to impossible to find anything. I feel like the main thing they're pushing is this Topps Now stuff, which we're going to talk about in a future episode. But if you can somehow manage to navigate your way to their Garbage Pail Kids site, they do currently offer what is called the 2025 Topps Garbage Pail Kids Intergalactic Mayhem, and they are releasing different waves. Now, I've already missed waves 1 and 2, and so what this is for the cost of $20, you are shipped a new set every week for 6 weeks, I believe. Let me be clear. Each set costs you $19.99, and you get 11 cards. So 10 base cards and 1 wrapper, or 1 gold foil wrapper, which is a numbered card to 25. Now, some of the artwork, like I said, is really cool, and it plays off the theme of Intergalactic Mayhem. They're already on wave 3, and we'll see how long this goes. I know they're doing 6 different waves, but I wonder how successful these weekly releases are as far as the Garbage Pail Kids are concerned. So, what else do we want to talk about? Well, this is the season for the big card shows. Now, if you have ever gone to one of these can be a huge deal. And it appears to me that over the years, these just continue to grow and grow. And it's no secret that the hobby is getting more and more eyes on it and becoming more and more popular. So, what's on the horizon? And that is none other than Fanatics Fest. Now, Fanatics Fest looks pretty stacked. They had Fanatics Fest last year. I believe it was the debut of the New York City Fanatics Fest. It was stocked with celebrities, athletes, all kinds of talent, all kinds of people from different walks of life across entertainment and sports. The amount of videos and interviews and things that were coming out from Fanatics Fest last year was crazy. So if you're in the area, if you're in New York City and you can get to Fanatics Fest, I think it would be sick. The problem is, if you're not in New York City, it's never easy to get to New York City. And that's the one downfall with Fanatics Fest. Not only that, but it is freaking expensive. Now, I don't know whether anyone has tried to piecemeal the prices together or has looked at the roster and who's expected to be there, but there is a ton of people that is going to be at Fanatics Fest, which starts June 20th, runs over the weekend. It's really a who's who. I mean, WWE has a huge presence there. It's going to be insane. But the cost and the location doesn't make it easy for everyone to take part. Hopefully someday, hopefully next year, I can get there, as I think it would be a really good time. But you have everybody there, from baseball to football to basketball. The WWE is huge. You have people from the UFC, hockey players, WNBA. You have race car drivers, soccer players, various celebrities, artists, media personalities. I mean, they took the National, which historically has been the biggest card show, and they cranked it up to like 100. And they added in all this extra stuff. So it's not necessarily a card-focused event, more of a, hey, let's do this from the fan's perspective. What would the fan want to see? What would the fan want to encounter? I mean, there's literally celebrities and athletes all over the place. So it's a lot different than the National, and we'll get to the National in a minute, but it's a crazy time. It looks awesome. But as I said, location and price, it's crazy. I was looking through the list of people who are going to be there signing autographs and being available for photo ops. Have you guys seen this? It's nuts how expensive this stuff can get. So not only do you have to pay a ticket to get in, which is fine, but you're paying a price for a photo op, or you're paying a price and different levels of pricing based on the autograph or item that you are asking for the artist or athlete to sign. And like I said, WWE is huge there. There's probably 20 different WWE guys. I mean, some of your newer ones, Penta, and I know Alexa Bliss just came back, but she's going to be there. You got some of your old guys, Rey Mysterio, Randy Orton. Of course, Seth Rollins is there, Dominic Mysterio, John Cena. I looked at the John Cena prices. A photo with John Cena is going to cost you $325. Now, if you want him to autograph something for you, it's another $300. So your interaction with John Cena for a photo and an autograph is going to cost you $650. $650. How are we feeling about that, to get a photo with John Cena? Now, some of the other ones I thought were, they're not terribly crazy. Like CM Punk's going to be there. His photo is going to cost you $195, and an autograph with him is going to cost you $195. So $400 for a photo and auto of CM Punk. How do we feel about that? But then it just keeps going up and up and up. And some of the prices on these guys is insane. Albert Pujols, Great baseball player. We're talking one of the greatest power hitters of all time, Albert Pujols. If you want to get a photo with him, it's $217, which isn't terrible. But if you want a premium autograph, now, like I said, they have different levels of the types of autographs available. A standard autograph is going to run you $325. If you want a premium autograph, an ultra premium autograph in which he references something to a 500 home run, a 600 home run, a 700 home run, or being a member of the 3,000 hit club, it's going to run you $650. That's crazy. $651. Now, I know he's a great player historically, Hall of Famer, this and that, but holy cow, that seems a little steep. But it doesn't stop there. Let's look at some of the other names that are available. Eli Manning. Now, I'm not a Giants fan, but the fact that Eli was able to beat the fake TB, Tom Brady, and the New England Patriots in the Super Bowl, as far as I'm concerned, Eli Manning is up there on a pedestal. Now, you want a photo with Eli? $195. Okay, not terrible. It falls in line with some of the other guys. Premium autograph, $282 for a premium autograph. Now, if you want Eli Manning to sign a game-used item, it's going to cost you $1,085. $1,085 for Eli Manning to sign a game-used item. My opinion, Eli, you're great, but what the heck is going on with these prices? Now, I was hoping that Tom Brady was going to be available to sign because I got this idea in my head that, last week I came up with the if money were no object buy of the week. Well, here we go. If money were no object buy of the week, what would I do? I would take myself to Fanatics Fest in New York City. I would buy a plane ticket, buy a ticket to this show. I would buy a autograph and photo op session with what everyone considers the GOAT, Tom Brady, and I would have him sign something Bills related, of course, and I would have him inscribe on this because I would have to pay extra for a special inscription because everyone charges extra for them to write an additional 3 or 4 words on these items. They charge ungodly amounts of money to add very small inscriptions to these autograph sessions. I wanted him to write something to the effect of, "To the real TB, you are the best, blah, 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 blah." I thought that would be funny. So if money were no objects, but as I'm looking through the list of athletes who will actually be signing at Fanatics Fest, he unfortunately is not on the list. So what's the next best option? The next best option I came up with was good old Dan Marino. Now, Bills fans, y'all remember Dan Marino. He's a pretty good quarterback, pretty good Hall of Fame quarterback, but he played for the Dolphins. And him and Jim Kelly, one of my favorite players of all time, they were always going at it. Great rivalry. It was awesome. But as a Bills fan, you always hated the Dolphins. So I thought, why not get a item signed by Dan Marino in which he is being sacked by the all-time sack leader himself, Bruce Smith. Now, Bruce Smith, Hall of Fame player, on the Bills Wall of Fame as well, and the all-time sack leader. He finished his career with 200 sacks. 9.5 of those sacks were on none other than Dan Marino. And I thought, hey, let's get a picture of Bruce sacking Dan and have him sign it with the inscription of "Squish the Fish," because that was a tagline. It still is, but it was used more in the 90s when the Bills would have a heated rivalry with the Dolphins. Hey, we got to squish the fish. I thought it would be funny. Let's have Dan Marino sign this picture, which I found one on eBay, by the way. Not only is it a picture, I found a mini poster from 1992 that's called Super Sackers. Now, this is sponsored and it's like a promo mock-up photo or poster of Bruce Smith sacking Dan Marino, and he looks like he's crying as he's getting sacked by Bruce Smith. It's a great picture. His eyes are closed, he's falling over, and Bruce Smith is just mangling this guy, and it looks amazing. And it's sponsored by Ocean Spray and Frito-Lay, but the advertisement they're very small and they're on the bottom, so it doesn't really distract from this pretty cool picture. So I thought, hey, let's buy this. It's only roughly $25 on eBay. Have Marino sign it, have Bruce sign it. It would be great. So I'll buy this, $25. I will get myself to Fanatics Fest. I will get a ticket to have Dan Marino inscribe this Super Sackers picture, and then I will get an additional inscription added in which he says, "Squish the fish." Now, how much is this going to cost me? Well, as I said before, the picture itself, $25, no problem. The ticket to get into Fanatics Fest, $70. Okay, we're doing all right so far. And then Dan Marino, he charges $350 for his autograph. $350. Plus an additional, get this, $163 for an inscription. $163 extra dollars to write "Squish the Fish" on this photo. So just for the autograph and the inscription, it's going to cost me $515. Then, because money is no object, I'm going to have him take a picture with me holding this freshly signed photo that I brought and I made him sign. The photo op with Dan Marino is going to cost me another $352. $352. So grand total, the poster, the tickets, the inscription, and the photo is going to run me roughly $960. $960. Dan Marino, what the heck are we doing? I get it, you're a Hall of Famer, but the prices at this place are insane. Insane. Anyway, I thought that would be fun because, like I said, every week, if money were no object, how would I spend my money? This is a great thing. I would want this on my wall. I would get it framed. It would be glorious. But we can't stop there. No, we can't stop there because that's only one half of this awesome, awesome picture. We got Marino's autograph. We got Marino's inscription, but we need the better half, the Hall of Fame all-time NFL sack leader, Bruce Smith. Now, he's not going to be at Fanatics Fest, so that's kind of a bummer. So we have to go then to the other upcoming huge card show, the National, which this year is going to be in Chicago, because Bruce Smith will in fact be signing there. Now, if you look at the prices for the National, much more affordable. Much more affordable. An entry ticket to one day of the National is only going to run you $25. Awesome. Bruce Smith, now he must not be as money hungry as good old Danny Boy, because Bruce Smith only charges for an autograph, an inscription, and a photo. And Bruce Smith should obviously sign the photo. TB, thank you for being such a huge Bills fan. Yeah, I mean, just lather it up with praises. That would be cool, but probably only get 3 words, so something to the effect of "Go Bills." But anyway, for an autograph, inscription, and the photo for Bruce Smith, it's only going to run me $308. $308 compared to almost $1,000 for Danny Boy. Not even accounting your hotel, your flight. When all said and done for Fanatics Fest in New York City, you're looking at probably $2,000. $2,000. That's a lot of money. Now, I know if money were no object, we got to make it happen, but $2,000 roughly to go get Danny Boy to sign this awesome photo. And then Bruce Smith, a total for entry, auto, inscription, and photo, $333. $333. I will take it. So for the grand total, probably this whole project that I just made up is going to probably cost me anywhere between $2,000 and $2,300. What do we think? Should we do it? Put it on my wall? It's going to be glorious. It's going to be awesome. What a great photo. Bruce Smith, all-time sack leader, sacking Dan Marino 9.5 times in his career. In this photo, like I said, Dan Marino looks like he's crying, and there definitely is a place he would rather be than right there right now. So anyway, but the National. So my buddy Mike, like I said, huge Bills fan. Him and I share season tickets. He reached out to me and said, "Hey, do you want to go to the National this year?" And number one, it's in Chicago, so that would obviously require plane and hotel and all this stuff. I would love to go. But that will be the last weekend before my son heads off to the military, so I'm going to have to pass. But what he did say about who was going to be at the National was none other than national treasure and former Bills coach and general manager Marv Levy. I know if you're older like me, you know who Marv Levy is. You understand how important he was to this franchise, to the city. And younger fans, I'm sure you've heard of him. His name is obviously on the Bills wall. The name is synonymous with Buffalo Bills football. But do we really know? Younger fans, do you really know who Marv Levy is and was? And this guy in August is going to be 100 years old. 100 years old, Marv Levy. Congratulations. So let's celebrate your birthday by taking a trip down memory lane and talking about the iconic Marv Levy. We could probably spend an entire podcast talking about Marv and his coaching career and all of his great accomplishments. I just want to kind of give everybody a brief overview because this guy was ridiculously impressive. Like I said, 100 years old on August 3rd. That is amazing. But he coached in the NFL for a long time, 17 seasons, 17. If you actually dive into his collegiate history as well, he was an assistant coach at Coe College. Now, Fred Jackson, shout out Coe College. Then he went on to New Mexico, was the assistant coach, head coach there, coached at California, coached at William and Mary. Shout out Sean McDermott. So there's all kinds of little threads you can pull to tie to current and former Bills, but a lot going on there. Then he finally got his break with the Philadelphia Eagles around 1969. He was their kickers coach, if you can believe it, kickers coach. And then he went to the LA Rams around 1970, was their special teams coach, went on to coach special teams for the Redskins. And then he went to the CFL, the Canadian Football League, where he coached Montreal from 73 to 77, and he actually won 2 Grey Cup titles with Montreal. So pretty impressive so far. He finally jumps into head coaching in the NFL, rather. Head coach in the NFL. He got a job with the Kansas City Chiefs, from 1978 to 1982. He coaches 1 year with a team called the Chicago Blitz. Now, I'm not too big on indoor football, but he coaches a team called Chicago Blitz in the United States Football League. I do know Levy is from Chicago area, so maybe this is a deal where he didn't want to be away from home and he kind of just wanted to coach where he lives, where he's born, that kind of deal. But he coaches 1 year with the Blitz, and then finally in 1986 he becomes the head coach of your Buffalo Bills. And he coaches the Bills for quite some time. He coached them from 86 all the way to 1997. Pretty impressive. His career with the Bills started a little slow, started off 7-8, and then the next year, the team went 12-4. So quite the turnaround for the Buffalo Bills. Quite the turnaround. And this was 1988. And then, of course, we go on this run, winning all these Eastern Division titles. He is responsible for the no-huddle, high-powered offense led by, of course, Jim Kelly, and just a cast of characters, future Hall of Famers. I mean, the list goes on and on. Offensive side, defensive side. This was the team that I grew up watching. This was the team that, I credit my Buffalo Bills long time, 40-plus years fandom. I love this team. He was the glue that held this team together. And there were definitely a cast of characters on this team. So his run went all the way through 1997. And this team was great. They were just crushing people. With the exception of the Super Bowls, obviously, this team was so fun to watch. Just great. Just a great time to be a Bills fan. So he retires after the 97 season. He gets elected into the Pro Football Hall of Fame a few years later. Ultimately, he comes back as a general manager in 2006. And at this point, he's 80 years old. So at 80 years old, Marv Levy is general manager and vice president of football ops for the Buffalo Bills. 80 years old. It's crazy. If you ask me, he was handed a crap situation. I mean, if you remember what was going on around this time, you had the resignation of Mike Mularkey. That was a whole debacle. I mean, we'll dive into that nonsense in a future episode, but there was so much nonsense going around the team. And at this point, we are just approaching the middle point of the drought. So he was kind of in a terrible situation, but he hires Dick Duran and things just seem to get worse because I'm not sure why he went with Duran, but you want to talk about one of the most boring head coaches in the history of the Bills. Yeah, that was a rough stretch. But Anyway, I give him a lot of credit at 80 years old being the general manager of an NFL team. Tip of the cap. I don't think it was a very successful run, but I don't think it diminishes the accomplishments of Marv Levy and what he did in his career. I just think looking back, this guy is iconic, not only in Bills history, but iconic in the history of the NFL, and he should be recognized. And I always wonder if he got enough credit or recognition, because during the Super Bowl runs, like I said, this team was loaded with superstars. I mean, you had your Bruce Smiths and your Andre Reeds, your Thurman Thomas, your Jim Kellys. I mean, it was player after player after player. And I almost think Marv didn't get enough credit for the way he was the glue that held all these superstar NFL players together. Back then, there were a lot of rumblings about how the team didn't get along and they were the bickering Bills, and there was a whole lot of nonsense. And this is way before social media and the internet and all this stuff, but newspapers and local media was reporting, it seemed, constantly on the infighting and the nonsense in the locker rooms and some of the attitudes and stuff that were going on with this team. And I just feel like Marv was the glue that held this all together. So I wondered, is there a way that we could have made Marv even more popular than he was during his run as a extremely successful Buffalo Bills head coach? Would there have been anything we could have done if we were his agent and we said, "Hey Marv, we got to get you in the national spotlight a little more. I think people just don't realize how awesome you are." What if we came up with a way to make Marv even more famous and more of a national icon, is what I like to refer to him as? What if there were a way that we could put even more of a spotlight on him? Would there be a way we could blend two of the awesome hobbies that we talk about here on the 3Ts podcast? I call this segment Crossing the T's segment of the week. Now, one of the greatest 80s movies of all time is none other than Ghostbusters. And if you remember the movie Ghostbusters, they tell you you should never cross the streams. Well, I carry this advice with me through my years. But here on the 3Ts podcast, we're going to cross the T's, because what if Marv Levy dove into the world of professional wrestling? What if Marv Levy became a manager of some down on their luck superstars back in the day? How could he have helped certain wrestlers? How could he have made them have better trajectories, better career arcs? How could he have helped them recover from different terrible stories they were involved in? And so I came up with a list of some professional wrestlers that I thought Marv would be great to assist, to help, to boost up as their manager. I think this would be a fun exercise. So here we go. Number one, the first wrestler that I think Marv Levy should have managed was none other than IRS. That's right, Erwin R. Shyster. Think about it. This would be absolutely brilliant. Now, Mike Rotunda, shout out to Bray Wyatt, his father, Bray Wyatt, one of my favorites. But let's get back to IRS. IRS debuted in the WWF as this character in April of 1991. So think about what just happened a few months prior. Bills lose to the Giants. It's one of the most patriotic Super Bowls of all time. This is where Whitney Houston is singing the iconic pre-recorded national anthem. But, you know, a lot of things going on globally in the world with us overseas and war efforts and whatnot. So this is one of the most patriotic Super Bowls of all time. And shortly thereafter, IRS debuts in the WWF. Now, IRS is a gimmick where he plays a bad guy and he is a tax collector, hence the initials IRS. And everyone hates this guy because his whole thing is he gets after the fans. He comes after wrestlers. He calls everyone a tax cheat. He basically makes fun of them and says that they're all dirtbags for not paying their fair share of taxes. Every town he goes in, he goes on some rant about local or state income taxes. It's an awesome gimmick, but everyone hates him because nobody likes paying taxes. So this is where Marv comes in. Marv, fresh off the heels, now I know they just lost the Super Bowl, but Marv, fresh off the heels of this super patriotic game, can you imagine Marv Levy being the manager of IRS? We could put a whole new spin on the IRS character and explaining to people, maybe telling IRS to tone it down a little bit and really explain what the taxes are going to be going for, and just have a total patriotic spin and trying to portray IRS in a much more favorable light. So what do we think? IRS, Marv Levy as his manager, off to a good start? No? Okay, check out the next one. Number 2 on the list of wrestlers I think Marv Levy should have managed at some point during his brand new fictitious made-up WWF career. Number 2, none other than one of my favorites as a kid, the Ultimate Warrior. Now, you may be asking, why does the Ultimate Warrior need a manager? He was quite successful. He had a great run, pretty short run, but he had a great run. Kids loved him. He was extremely popular. And why does he need a manager? Well, if you're bored sometime and you want to go down the ultimate rabbit hole, get on the YouTube and start Googling some Ultimate Warrior promos. They are some of the most hilarious, rambling, incoherent messes that you could ever imagine. If you think the classic Scott Steiner, Big Papa Pump mathematician promo is terrible, you should go back and listen to some of the Ultimate Warrior promo packages. They are mind-numbingly hilarious. You have no idea what this guy is talking about. And it's crazy. He'll talk about the heavens and he'll talk about the power of the warriors and all this stuff. I think he tied the ribbons on his arms way too tight, and it ended up cutting off the circulation to his head. But this is where Marv comes in. So picture this. Marv Levy, manager, Ultimate Warrior. Ultimate Warrior cuts a promo on whomever he's fighting, let's say Hulk Hogan, for example, and he does a 30 to 60 second rambling promo that no one knows what the hell he's talking about. Well, Marv Levy is super, super intelligent. He then translates the promo that the Warrior just rambled on about into words and phrases and explains it to the people so we know why we should be invested in the Warrior. I think it's brilliant. I think he could have helped the Warrior have a longer, more sustainable career. And maybe we cut down on some of the backstage drama. I know Warrior wasn't really liked in the profession, but maybe Marv is the peacekeeper and he bridges the gap between the Warrior and all these other wrestlers. Look, he was one of my favorites. So you combine one of my favorite wrestlers with one of the greatest Bills managers of all time. I think it's a win-win. So that's number 2. Marv Levy manages Ultimate Warrior. What do we think of that one? Number 3, I got to go with Marty Jannetty. Now, if you've never heard of Marty Jannetty, hopefully, if you're a newer wrestling fan, you have heard of the tag team called The Rockers. Now, when I was a kid, The Rockers were by far my favorite tag team, by far. And it's no wonder that this led me years later, probably 2 decades later, to love the Hardy Boys, because I think the Hardy Boys are essentially the Rockers turned up to like 30. I loved the Rockers when I was a kid. They were fast. They were flashy. They did cool moves. They had lots of colors in their outfits, and they had the long flow going with their hair. They looked like rock stars, but yet athletes at the same time, and they did some really cool stuff. The music was great. So it was Shawn Michaels, who would go on to have a Hall of Fame iconic long-time career. He's still involved in WWE. Obviously, he's one of the main coaches, one of the main people behind the scenes at NXT. But his Rockers partner, way back when, good old Marty Jannetty, things were never the same upon the breakup of the Rockers. Now, I was devastated when the Rockers broke up. And if you don't remember, look up the Barbershop episode. So Brutus the Barber Beefcake hosted a segment on WWF programming called The Barbershop. And he had as his guests Shawn Michaels and Marty Jannetty, the Rockers. Well, you could sense the tension forming between this tag team for quite some time. And it was on this episode of The Barbershop that ultimately Shawn Michaels betrays Jannetty, super kicks him, and then throws him through the glass window of the barbershop, thus ending the Rockers and all future hope for reconciliation. And it was devastating. Devastating to me as a kid, as a fan of the Rockers. And Marty Jannetty, frankly, he never recovered. So enter Marv Levy. He is here to pick up Jannetty, to dust him off, and get him back on track. I think with his positivity, he gives him some of his life lessons, some of the books he's read, some of the knowledge he can partake. And we see this character arc of Marty Jannetty going from, it's like a Rocky movie. It's like when Apollo dies and Rocky doesn't know what to do with his life and he's down on his luck, and it's just downfall after downfall, negativity after negativity. The same thing with Marty Jannetty. It would be awesome to see this character arc played out through vignettes and training montages, and it would be amazing to see Marv in the back encouraging him, training him, just like Rocky's coach Mickey in the Rocky franchises. I think it would be great. And then you see this character arc of Jannetty coming back from the dead, essentially, recovering from the barbershop fiasco, training, getting stronger. He goes on and has a great run. He ultimately beats Shawn Michaels, and then he goes on this trajectory to win the WWF Championship. I think it would be storytelling at its absolute finest, all because we decided to add Marv Levy as Marty Jannetty's manager. But if you haven't liked any of these suggestions, I have saved what I think is the best for last, because the fourth wrestler I think Marv Levy should have managed back in the day was none other than the Godfather. That's right. Everyone aboard the Ho train, because that's what the Godfather was famous for. He would come out from the ring and he would be surrounded, or he would come out to the ring, and he would be surrounded by dancing girls, scantily clad women. And for a period of 2 years, he was a fan favorite just because he was essentially what his persona was none other than a pimp. And so these women would come out and they'd be dancing, they'd be surrounding the ring. And back then in the 90s, when characters like this were all over the place and WWE was filled with sleaze and scantily clad women, and the actual women's wrestling angle of the whole thing was pretty much non-existent, this was what you got. So enter in the great Marv Levy managing the Godfather. Can you imagine this? Marv being the good guy he is, he, during the matches, when the Godfather is in the ring, having his matches, he's trying to work with the women that have escorted the Godfather to the ring, and he's trying to find them good, upstanding work, and he's trying to play matchmaker, and I think it would be brilliant. He tries to show the Godfather the error of his ways and encourage him to change his life and be more caring, kind, loving individual to the women of society. And we see this character arc where the Godfather goes from being a pimp, essentially, and a strip club owner, or whatever the hell character he was thought out to be. We see him going from that to a upstanding citizen and transforming the life of these down on their luck women and helping to lift them up in a much more positive light, all due to the help and support and guidance of none other than Marv Levy. So there you have it. 4 awesome ways we could take Marv from a national icon to a global treasure. I think it's brilliant. That's just some fun I'm trying to have, crossing the T's, bringing the worlds of the Buffalo Bills into the WWF. I think it'd be fun. He's turning 100 in a very short amount of time, and he'll be at the National. So if you get a chance, go out, buy your tickets, say hi to Marv, get a picture and a photo op and an autograph session. And yeah, I think it's well worth your time and an investment. I'm disappointed I can't be there, but I hope you all get a chance to go say hi to Marv. And hey, tell him my great idea, because I think it's brilliant. Let's quickly dive into the world of professional wrestling. Now, there is so much going on right now on TV. It's almost overwhelming. I'm going to start with AEW. Now, historically, I am a WWE guy. Always have been. Probably always will be. Never got into the WCW war. Never took their side. Was a WWF guy, WWE guy the whole way. But recently, I have been trying to get into AEW. I made the decision, a month ago, a couple weeks ago, to drop $50 and order AEW, the pay-per-view. The Double or Nothing, All or Nothing, I can't remember the name of it. I think it's Double or Nothing. The Double or Nothing pay-per-view. And it was probably the best $50 I've spent on a wrestling pay-per-view in quite some time. I had a blast. The wrestling is awesome. They put on a fan-freaking-tastic pay-per-view show. Fantastic. But can we talk a minute about how much they are putting on a Wednesday night? 4 hours, back-to-back weeks, guys. What are we doing? And thank God the main match, the best match of the night, Swerve versus Ospreay. That match was sick. It ended in a 30-minute draw. But I see where they're going with this story. I love it. It's going to be great. Hopefully they're going to team up and fight the Young Bucks at All In Texas here in about a month. But AEW, guys, I think you need to chill a little with the 4-hour extravaganza on a Wednesday in the middle of the week. Nobody can keep up with this. I read an article about the numbers. Last week, the numbers were okay, and they kind of dwindled as the program went on. This week, they were even worse. It's just too much. I understand that technically what they did, the first 2 hours were Dynamite, the second 2 hours were Collision, but these are historically on different days of the week. So maybe logistically, due to scheduling and buildings and space, they were kind of left no choice. So they labeled it what I think the week before was called Fighter Fest, and I don't remember the name they threw on this week's episode, but it's too much, guys. It's too much. You start with Monday Night Raw. Right now, the WWE is kind of getting into a good time frame. About 2 hours, 15 minutes, 2 hours, 20 minutes is what the average runtime of WWE Monday Night Raw is. And that's fine. That's good. I like it. It's a perfect amount of time. You can watch it, whether live or on replay, and you're not making a killer investment. Friday Night SmackDown, it's a little longer. Right now, they're averaging 3 hours a week. So between the two shows, you're at 5.5 hours. And then you go and add another 4 for AEW. That's almost 10 hours a week just of that. I don't have time to watch NXT. It's crazy. I know they're doing good things down there, but I just can't. I don't have enough bandwidth. I don't have enough time in my week or my days to catch up on it all. So I'm stuck with reading online reviews about what's going on in NXT because there's not enough time. But AEW, can we chill with the 4-hour Wednesdays, because it is really tough. I like the product. I do like the product. I think their main guys are awesome. Will Ospreay, Swerve Strickland. Not a huge fan of the Jon Moxley era as champion. Loved him in the Shield, one of my favorite iconic factions of all time. Clearly, he's taken a much different, darker character, Jon Moxley, in AEW. He does some good work, but I know a lot of people are clamoring for this to be over. Obviously, he is going to be going on to fight Adam Hangman Page for the title at All In. I can't wait for All In. I think it's going to be fantastic pay-per-view. I am all in on the AEW pay-per-views, but let's just back off the 4-hour Wednesday shows. But I love the product. Maybe they have a few too many guys, so by the time you are sifting through 4 hours, there's just way too many people, too many belts. There's too many things going on. But the top tier guys in AEW, I think, are as good or if not better than some of the WWE guys. And I love WWE. But anyway, so much going on. Jey Uso lost to Gunther. Maybe we'll have a show about his very short title run compared to some others' very short title runs. Not sure how I feel about the whole thing. I'm not sure who it helped. Not sure if it helped Jey, if it helped Gunther. I'm not really sure what the whole point of it is. I'm hearing some rumors that the whole purpose was so Gunther could have a match against one of my least favorite wrestlers of all time, Bill Goldberg. God, I hope that is not the case. I really hope Bill Goldberg is not coming back to have his retirement match against Gunther. I don't know about you, but in my opinion, no one wants to see Goldberg wrestle anymore. His matches over the last 5-6 years have been absolute train wrecks. Guys have gotten hurt. They're terrible matches. He is essentially the entrance, and that's it. Let's just turn the TV off once he gets to the ring, and you tell me what happens, because I don't want to watch a Bill Goldberg match. R-Truth, if you watch this segment where he cut off his dreads on national television, that was quite the impact statement. It was crazy when I saw him pull the scissors out of his pocket and he slowly starts cutting off his hair. I was like, what the hell is happening? This is insane. He's essentially shedding the R-Truth persona, and he wants to go by Ron Killings, and I cannot wait to see where this goes. I know on SmackDown, he ran in and kind of attacked Cena on 2 different occasions during the program. SmackDown, by the way, was awesome. It was filled with great matches, great promos. I am suddenly a lot more interested in the Cena debacle that they have put together. His promo to start the show was fire. And then when CM Punk came out and addressed him later on in the show, that was gold. Gold. That's the stuff we wanted to see from the start. Where does this go? I don't know. I don't know what happens in Saudi. I know Night of Champions, it's going to be Cena versus Punk. We shall see what happens, but I am now actually invested in this arc. I can't wait to see what they do. So that was positive. The R-Truth thing was great. Nikki Bella returned. She was promoting the upcoming women's only pay-per-view on the horizon. And then none other than Liv Morgan came out. They got into a rather uncomfortable back and forth. Why is it that sometimes during these women's battles, these women's talking segments, why do they always have to, or sometimes it seems to be that they're bringing up the other's love interest? No one wants to hear that. No one cares what's going on in Nikki's personal life. Can we just leave that out of it and maybe focus on the wrestling aspect? Because that was kind of stupid. Sorry, Liv. I think you're great, but that was kind of dumb and unnecessary. But I think the wrestling of it all has been great. AEW, can't wait to see All In. WWE, you guys are rolling right now. Hopefully we get some better traction with this Cena story. I'm not sure what to do about the Jey Uso story. We'll see. We're going to talk about the King of the Ring tournament that they're having between Raw and SmackDown and leading into Night of Champions. I have high hopes. I think it's going to be great. A lot of cool stuff going on. So I think that's going to wrap up episode 4. If you have enjoyed this episode or any other episode of the 3Ts, please do me a favor. Please, please, please help me out. Help me out. It would be awesome if you could share this podcast with someone you know, someone that you know is a fellow Mafia member, someone that you know loves collecting cards, and of course, someone that you know who loves professional wrestling. It would mean the absolute world to me. Doesn't matter. I want to try to grow this, like I said before, one episode at a time, and any way you can help me do that would be greatly, greatly appreciated. So please hit that follow button, leave a quick review anywhere you do your podcasting, and it would be awesome. I would appreciate it very, very much. So until next time, whether it's ripping packs, breaking tables, or dropping elbows, keep doing what you love. And as always, go Bills.